beautiful space. Hello, and thank you for tuning in to this Brew Happy podcast. I'm Damian as the voice of beer, and with us, as usual, is DJ Fitzmagic with our music pairings for this week. How you doing there, bud?
Hey, man, how's it going?
Doing all right. We are missing JP, the champion, for a while, as he is going to be on holiday.
Scotland.
Globetrotting, as discussed last week.
I just got a picture from him.
Yeah?
Guess where he's at?
Oh, is he on Isla?
No.
Oh?
He's at Juliet at PDX.
Wow.
He hasn't left yet.
Oh my goodness! I thought he left yesterday.
No, he leaves today.
Okay. All right.
But it's like a 9.5 hour flight.
Wow.
So he's catching almost pretty much the red eye.
Okay, and so he's catching the Juliet
Express train to Sleepy Town.
Yeah, the Juliet bar.
Yeah, at
over
the
there.
end. Yeah,
at the end of that.
So I think
the
he
terminal.
flies. I think he flies from here to. I can't remember if he said he flies from here to Seattle and then from Seattle to the East Coast, or he flies straight from the East Coast and then flies from there to British Airways.
Wow.
Or UK Airways, or whatever the hell it might be. It's
Well,
horrible food.
Yeah, he's
Who
missing
knows?
out on the fun. I'm sure he wishes he was here with us.
When we told him we were coming, he was like, God,
no. Well, that's all right. This week we are at Living Haus. We've been talking about this for a while. Living Haus
it's
started.
only taken us how many months?
Well,
Since they opened?
We'll get everybody on the schedule eventually.
That's true.
So Living Haus is right here in the old Belmont Fermentarium, formerly of Modern Times, and before that, the Commons. And they opened Friday, July 15th of 2022. And with an original lineup of West Coast IPAs, a Helles, a Pils, and a Hazy IPA. This was an ambitious startup with a focus on modern, historically inspired lagers. We're here today with Mat Sandoval to find out what that means. Matt, thank you so much for joining our listeners. I sure appreciate you taking time out of your busy brewing schedule to get your brew on with us here and talk shop. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, man. And we have been kind of talking you guys up. We've had a handful of Living Haus beers since you guys opened almost a year ago, which has been really fun. There's one on the table right there.
That's
Perfect.
my personal favorite right
There we
there.
go.
We'll talk about that in a moment.
But it's been a really fun adventure because we know Conrad so well. As Damian used to be a roommate with him, we've followed his career from Culmination and all the way, just around Portland and doing what he does best.
Yeah.
And it's just fun to see him now in this beautiful space that we, as Portlanders, love and hold so dear. And you guys have just made it your own. And killer beers and a killer atmosphere. And I really like the Haas. I mean, you don't see a lot of fun German play on word kind of thing, but it's fun. I really love it.
Yeah, Matt, where's the name come from?
Well, the Haus is a story in itself. But Living Haus, I guess the branding and the idea behind it came up very quickly, to be honest with you guys. As you kind of mentioned, we started up in a facility that's had two pretty prominent breweries in it. And when the most recent brewery, Modern Times, which I ran for the 4.5 years that it was open.
Yes.
When that shut down, that was very immediate, and the
Abrupt.
very abrupt.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've been paying attention to craft beer and what's been going on through COVID, and I don't know. I guess just whatever the
we were definitely shocked.
Yeah. I guess whatever the environment for craft beer is right now, things have changed quite a bit in the last 3-4 years, and while it was abrupt, as a former, employee, that was definitely something that we had been talking about for a while, but the decision was very quick and steadfast, just like, was reported. So luckily, Conrad and I had kind of been talking, honestly, for about a year about starting our own thing. And
great.
The only reason we were able to really kind of pull this off is that we were pretty far along in the process of, getting our own place, and we had financial backing. We had our business plan set. We had equipment. We had an LOI on a property in another state, to be honest with you guys.
Wow.
And when this came about, we took about a week after getting the news to kind of start thinking through, like, well, what if we changed the business plan and actually did it here in Portland, where, as we all kind of know, Conrad's been around for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Definitely in the beer scene, not just here in town. And it seemed to make a lot more sense than trying to, like, completely start over in a new city where we maybe neither one of us
Build a whole reputation, right?
Yeah, we would have had to basically start from scratch. And this seemed like a pretty smart move. And to be able to pull off what we did in the time frame that we did, I mean, I believe we shut down as Modern Times in February of 2022.
That sounds about right, yeah.
We opened the doors and had beers on tap in July.
Wow.
So definitely not something that normally happens.
No, not since we've
pretty decent
been
turnaround.
through the pandemic too, because we witnessed so many ups and downs and shifts in how distributing and how brewing and how contact with people. We had a lot of at-home deliveries, and I mean, it was the beer scene over the last 3 years, like you had said, has just been so different.
Yeah,
and then
the word pivot took on a new inspirational meaning.
Yeah, and that's really an interesting point of where I guess Conrad and I first started working together. He came to us from Culmination, I want to say January of 2020. And
That sounds about right.
Yeah, and then in March, everything kind of went a little wonky. So, we utilized them the best that we could, but it definitely was not, I think, the expectation that he had of, moving to a new company and, and leaving the place that he had built up to come work with me on the place that I'd helped build up. So when Conrad came to us, when we both worked at Modern Times, I hired him to be the production manager for this facility, which I was doing prior, and I had expanded my responsibilities within the company, and it didn't make a lot of sense to, I guess, be focusing on this facility when I had my hand in all the other facilities that we had at the time.
Yeah.
So getting Conrad to come in and help out and oversee things here was super helpful, and we were really excited about it. And again, COVID hit, so it changed things, but it doesn't mean that he didn't get to contribute or get to, I don't know, I guess, find opportunity there. Like he still contributed a ton to the company, and got to work with the brewers and all the other facilities, and there was still opportunity. It just wasn't, I don't know, everybody got stuck at home.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Like you said,
That's how COVID was.
Yeah, at one point it was like, oh, Matt, it's your turn to go deliver beer today.
Right.
Or maybe Conrad, it's your turn to go deliver beer to like 6 people's houses this week.
Well, and I'm excited to spend the hour hanging out with you and learning more about your background, but as well as your guys'
Conrad and Gavin.
the Living Haus.
Hey, there's Conrad now.
Beer.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Not no shorts.
Hey, bud, you want to come? You want to come on the show?
Maybe in a second, he says. But I am excited, Matt, to hear about more from Living Haus, especially some of the names of the beers. I want to get into that.
Yeah,
but let's talk
about Gavin as well.
Let's talk about the beers
And
we're
the beers.
drinking. What are you drinking?
Okay, so I went with the Mexican lager because I've been in a big lager mood lately.
There've been some good ones lately.
Super hot this past week.
Fuck yeah.
And what goes down better than a lager?
A Kolsch.
Okay, you got me there.
You're welcome.
Yes. That was last week though.
Uh-huh.
I got I got to keep my portfolio open.
Now I will
today
say
it's Mexican Lager Day.
Yeah, I will say there are some really great lagers always, but it just depends on who you're getting them from, and this is a place where you can get some good lagers.
Yeah.
I am drinking not a lager. I am drinking the hazy IPA called the Herman.
Oh.
Herman or Herman,
Wah,
but
wah,
I like the
wah.
German style. Herman.
Harriman.
Herman.
Okay.
This is Herman. And it's delicious. It's a delicious hazy.
Hey, there's Baker from Inebriated Distribution over there.
Hey, what's up,
He
Bakes?
just walked in the door.
What hops do we have in this hazy?
So
It is fruity.
yeah, so Herman is our actually only regularly brewed hazy. It's something
Really?
that we have on tap all the time, but coming out as a lager, focused brewery,
Yeah.
I definitely wanted to switch up what I had been brewing for the last, 5 or 6 years, which
Lots
was a
of
ton of
IPAs
hazies.
and
Yep,
hazies especially, I imagine.
Yeah, and Herman is a beer that now has Citra, Strata, and Amarillo in it.
Oh yeah.
So Strata is the main hop in that beer. When we first opened up, we were messing around with Nelson quite a bit, but we were having a little trouble as a small newish brewery getting quality Nelson and honestly getting a good price on Nelson. So
Yeah.
we decided to kind of switch it up and see what we could do with Citra, and I think the Citra Strata combo has worked out really well. It's pretty consistent that you're getting a lot of like nice tangerine quality in it. I think there's a fun like stone fruit character that I typically get from Amarillo, or at least the Amarillo that I try to select.
It definitely
that
has
comes
a-
in that finish.
It definitely has a kind of like a without as not necessarily the champagne-y side, but it has definitely that more boozy orange juice kind of a mimosa feel. But it definitely is deeper and it's richer, and that's what I really love. It's just a perfect all-around hazy because of that citrusy flavor.
Well, I mean, it's funny because again, like we're like, oh yeah, we want to be a lager brewery, and we both have tons of experience with a ton of different styles, but IPA being a really big one, and especially hazy IPA, coming from both of our backgrounds.
Definitely, yeah.
So something that we wanted to do with the hazy IPA was not have it be a flash in the pan, like, oh, this is just, another one that we kick out, and hopefully people like it. This is a very, I guess, like concentrated effort on all of the hazy IPAs that we made, and like, what do we actually like about these things? What makes them beers that just like lager, it's like, oh, actually, I want to have more than one of those. So that was our goal with that beer. And
Well achieved, yes.
nice.
Matt, where do you guys get your hops from?
From all over. Our main supplier of hops right now is Hollingberry, which is actually based right in Yakima.
Okay.
But, they work with farmers, obviously, in the Yakima Valley. They do work with some farmers out of Oregon. Well, actually, quite a bit of farmers out of Oregon. So depending on, our past experience and our past knowledge with, farmers in different states, we can kind of pick and choose, like, oh, hey, yeah, we might work with this hop supplier, but we know that you work with this farm, and we've had great experience with that farm, so we seek out our suppliers based on the farms that we work with in the past.
And that's really cool because
That's
you guys have the ability to say, well, I know these guys, or I know the product, or I know, and I like this, and I want to be able to support them, but also I know I want to make really good beer.
Yeah.
So I think that's a wonderful privilege that not just you, but a lot of people who are living and brew beer in the Pacific Northwest have, just be able to have rich and attainable quality ingredients.
Yeah.
Because it matters. I mean, this beer is great, and it's probably because of those hops.
Yeah, that's always been a major point of focus for the beer brewing that I've done in the past, and I'm sure Conrad as well, when it comes to IPA and using American hops. So, again, opening a brewery in Portland and making beer in the Pacific Northwest is great because you have that close proximity to not just the places where these things are grown, but getting to know the people that actually make these products, and
Absolutely.
knowing their same as brewing when it comes to the farmers knowing their processes and how they know their products.
Treat their crops. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking Dolores, our house Pilsner.
Perfect.
Wow.
And although he doesn't have a full microphone, I don't know if he's hanging out, but Conrad, you've just stepped into the bullpen, my
yeah,
friend.
you got a big, tall glass of
what
tasty
is-
beverage going on there.
It's been a hot minute since I've seen you, dude. It's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you
Congratulations on your success, and
Yeah.
Living Haus is fucking awesome. And
yeah. We've been rooting for you.
guys. Well, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Somebody
got to.
Yeah.
aw,
It's not me that's doing it, so there we go.
you're not out holding your own sign saying, I make beer, come drink
He's
it.
too busy making the
Yeah,
beer.
That's true. What are you
At this
drinking?
point, I'm selling a lot.
There you go.
There you go.
What is it you're drinking, Conrad?
Bobby, our Czech dark lager,
Yum.
Ah.
That sounds good.
or Cherne Pivo, I guess.
I think I can't. I was telling Matt I can't decide if I want the Frank or if I want the Bartleby, which is the Grodziskie.
Gotcha.
So I think I'm gonna go with a smoke beer after this.
Grodziske's a good style.
I think so too. He's clapping his hands.
We've been
He
talking
says,
about
yeah.
it more on the show.
Yeah.
Well, Matt and I have been brewing that style for how many years? 3 years? 4 years? Yeah.
Four,
about
yeah.
4.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, it's funny because I think like no one in Portland really brewed that style, and now it's like a really popular style here.
Yeah.
We were talking about it at the bar as I was waiting for my Herman to get poured about how fun it is to be able to take that beer with a whiskey and have a smoky either peaty or have a smoky more sherry side and have this really cool combination of beer and whiskey because of the smoked flavoring. So, maybe down the road we'll have to try that on the show here.
Yeah. Real quick before we go on break, I wanted to talk about the way that you guys name your beers. They're all named after. There's a significance to it.
Yeah. I think like a big component of like life is the people that you grow up around, and like what we're trying to do is like pay a little homage to those people, but then it's also fun just to like celebrate people, and then we have a little bit of fun with it sometimes where we get a little like not as serious in our naming convention.
Are they names of people that we may recognize?
I mean specifically.
Well, John Harris, yeah.
Oh yeah, the John Harris. No, that actually Harris is my grandfather. So, sorry, John. I know you're probably listening to this right now.
John Harris from Ecliptic is heartbroken, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure he's had enough beers named after him.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, really cool coincidence though.
Just to, I guess, further elaborate, the 4 core beers that we make all the time, our West Coast IPA, our Hazy IPA, our Pilsner, and our Helles are named after both of our grandparents.
Oh, wow.
Or our sets of grandparents, I guess
Yeah.
you would say. And then the other beers that we make, whether it's our own beers or collaborations, we usually, either find somebody that we've, known through our past or our history that, has played some kind of important role or maybe a lighthearted role
Right.
to kind of celebrate them, or honestly we ask our bartenders, like, is there somebody important in your life that you would like to
really cool.
name a beer after, or
Do you
somebody in
have
the
a
production
special
team?
pet? Yeah.
Yeah, we have a beer coming out pretty soon named after a very important dog that I used to have. We do maybe a little more lighthearted naming that isn't after some, really special person to somebody. But
That's
even
great.
when we do collaborations now, we still try to keep that kind of theme going. So we'll talk to our collaborators, which, a lot of times with collaborations, you learn a bunch about beer, but sometimes it's sitting around just drinking beer and, maybe catching up with friends, and it's not as intimate, or maybe you're not learning something. So it's like, well, if I'm not learning something about beer when we do this collaboration, maybe I'll learn something about you.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we get them to, try to name a beer after a grandparent or somebody important in their life.
Beer is about people.
It is about people. People is about beer.
Yeah.
It's vice versa.
Yeah, and that's why we do this show.
That's right.
And that's why we do this show for you, the listener. We are going to go to a quick break, but first I want to thank you all for listening and let our listeners know if you would like to help support the show, you can always reach us on patreon.com/brewhappy. For as little as $1, you can help support the show, the bar tab, memory cards, other things that we need to replace over the years. And for $5 or more, we start interacting with you, sending you hats and
gifts.
You can win raffles
Gifts.
like our Patreon subscriber last week, and all kinds of other cool things as well. And we do a Thanksgiving celebration every year where we invite our Patreon subscribers on the show to talk about their favorite beers.
You lucky bastards.
That's right. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in wherever podcasts are found. Ryan, what do we got for our music pairing this week?
I've tried just get some funky fun things. We started out the show a little weird. And
Oh, yeah,
kind of
yeah.
boop boppity.
I did like the boop boppity.
And just kind of boop boppity our way down. This one is it's an all brass band.
Ooh, big band.
And although it doesn't sound like the tune, it's a rendition of I Like It Like That.
You're not going to hit me with some Lawrence Welk, are you?
No.
All right.
Not this week. Not in the Living Haus.
I don't mind. It's just not the right feel for the show.
It's not. But
It's more my Nana's feel.
Well, then your Nana's not here.
No, she's not with us anymore, but I'll make a beer named Nana sometime.
So we're going to boop bop our way to a commercial break. We're going to get some more beer, especially here at Living Haus. We're going to talk a lot about news, beers, and I've got some beer to try. You got some beer to try.
I got some beer to try.
We're going to have a lot of fun.
I got a historical beer to try.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Guys, stick around. We'll be right back here on the Brew Happy Podcast.
Hey, this is Sean from the Beer Mongers, and you're listening to the Brew Happy Show.
Beer mongers. Where in this urban jungle can I find a decent craft beer?
Look, what's that off in the distance?
Distance? What distance? We're so conveniently located at Southeast 11th Avenue.
Beer mongers, bottle shop and tap room. Oh no, what's that?
Don't worry, that's just Damian rooting around in our extensive selection.
So many different beers!
Beer mongers, bottle shop and tap room.
For more information, visit thebeermongers.com or check out our social media. This is Warren Wills of craftbeerscribe.com, and you're listening to The Brew Happy Show.
John, I need more beer.
If you gotta let me down, make it easier this time. I'd like to say I'm over and over, then I'd be alive. I've been losing weight, y'all. I've been losing sleep. The whiskey makes me stronger, oh, but woman, you make me weak. Well, if I call my friends to tell them how I'm feeling, they're all tired of hearing about the love that you've been stealing.
Oh, yeah.
Sympathy.
We're living it up here at Living Haus, right off of Belmont, in the heart, downtown Portland. If you guys haven't been out here, you can't miss it. It's just a big old, giant, beautiful building, and they are just hanging out, banging out beers. It's delicious. Come get some delicious Living Haus beer if you get the chance. The weather is perfect to pick up a 4-pack and head on back down the street to wherever you live. Or if you want, just hang out here and enjoy some food, some music, and delicious beers here at the Haus of Beers.
Now it's no longer the season for it, but I do want, before we get into Lagerland, talk a little bit about this Pearl Coffee Stout, because this thing is delicious. And now after talking to you guys, I'm not sure if it was actually named after the Pearl District here in Portland. Is there a special person in someone's life named Pearl?
Yeah. So Pearl, also one of my favorite beers, is a coffee stout that we brewed with this little brewery called Stigbergets out of Gothenburg, Sweden.
Yeah.
They're buds that I've brewed with in the past and made all kinds of fun stuff. I met them initially through one of the best friends that I met in Portland, is a gentleman named Barnaby Struve. And he was
excellent name.
Barnaby Struve was excellent at everything. He was one of the founding brewers of Three Floyds, and he moved to Portland a few years before I did, but obviously he came by way of Chicago. At a certain point, when he had left Three Floyds, he went to Stigbergets, which was a startup brewery at the time, to kind of help get them on the map, and he was in charge of like doing collaborations and kind of growing their brand. And Ollie, their head brewer, and Lucas, their R&D brewer, they came to the States to do hop selection, and Barnaby was kind of showing them how it was done and that kind of thing, and I got to meet them and make again a few beers with them. But when we got to first opening up, it was the kind of start of hop selection season, and they came over and were like, "Oh, we'd love to make another beer." And
Thanks so much, Conrad.
we got to chatting about what we were trying to do, and we were like, "Oh yeah, we're a lager-focused brewery, and it's obviously hop selection time where everybody's like getting together and making all these IPAs. Let's make a coffee stout," which is definitely not what anyone else is doing at that time. So we thought that would be super fun. We'd also
so good.
Both Conrad and I have tons of experience making all kinds of different stouts, whether they be low ABV, which this one is for I guess it's the day and age of whatever stout is now, to making big barrel aged heavy adjuncted crazy stouts. So to get into something that could showcase coffee and be a little bit more easy drinking or sessionable, which is kind of the goal of all of our beers, we thought that would be a fun idea. And working at a place where I used to have my own coffee roastery, it was like pretty important to me that we find somebody in town that was doing something really fun. This is also kind of a coffee mecca, just like the beer mecca.
Yeah.
So we linked up with Puff Coffee, who's owned by this guy Dwayne, who originally started up Stumptown like 20-something years ago. He obviously has sold that company and moved on to do his own thing. And now this guy, Dwayne, who 20 years ago started one of the most, I guess, prolific coffee companies in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
He's back to being on the roaster, just kind of doing everything on his own. Well, not doing everything on his own, but making the coffee the way that he wants to make it, like he used to when he was, a young guy in the coffee scene.
Yeah.
So he's got a small team, selling the coffee and packaging and doing all this stuff, and he just hangs out on the roaster. And I think that's the coolest thing.
That's great.
To kind of go back to your roots and find yourself again and fall in love with your craft. So getting to work with somebody like him and this team from Stigbergets to make a really fun sessionable stout,
that's killer,
with high quality coffee in it is super important to us. And again, going back to me and Conrad's backgrounds of the two breweries that we worked at, two major breweries that we worked at in the past, you want to throw a little something fun at it, so we obviously got to do a little bit of vanilla because that's what people want now.
Yeah.
Well, it works really well. I feel like it's really well balanced. I've come back for more than one 4-pack, whether it's here or at Beer Mongers or at Ben's Bottle Shop in Vancouver or any of the number of places that we love to support and patronize here. And I got to tell you, it's one of my favorite. It's one of my new favorite stouts. Yeah. So I thank you so much.
There you go. A pros to that one. There you go.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Hope to brew it again next fall, winter.
Yeah, I know it'll be a while until I see it again.
No.
But
So I wanted to kind of just talk to you, Matt, because although you are now we kind of say after 4 or 5 years you're pretty much a native in Portland. So
you're originally from San Diego, though.
I'm originally from Southern California.
Yeah.
So
L.A. and Flagstaff, I think, even.
Yep, all over. So I was born and raised in L.A. I moved to Flagstaff when I was 12. I spent my formative years there, like junior high and high school.
Okay.
I moved to San Diego when I was 17, and then I was there for 20 years. So San Diego, by far the longest I've ever lived anywhere, and I consider that home, but again, I've kind of bounced around when I was young, so it's tough to be like, oh, yeah, that's where I'm from.
That's how I feel about here. I've
Yeah.
been around a lot of places, but I've definitely lived here the longest out of all of them.
Okay, yeah. I've been in Portland 5.5, coming up on 6 years now, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I feel like you're
good amount of time.
grandfathered in.
Yeah, we especially since you have contributed to the Portland beer scene. You're like, well, he's definitely part of it now. You don't get to not be in it when you make great beer.
Yeah, you're in it.
Whether you're under this label or a different. But how did it start? How did beer start for you?
Yeah.
What did you do?
So professional brewing or just beer?
Just what got? I mean, I'm sure you homebrewed, and why?
So I started home brewing in San Diego when I was probably 26 or 27, and my wife, who I was dating at the time, she got me a kit from Ballast Point's homebrew shop.
Oh, nice.
For Christmas one year.
That's awesome.
And she got me a great kit, and I think the first beer that I made was some terrible extract beer, and I was like, initially I was like, this is going to be super fun. I was like, this is really boring. I don't like this at all.
Yeah.
And it honestly, I'm not kidding, that kit probably sat around for like 6 months to a year, and then I started, reading more forums and blogs about like home brewing, and I was like, oh, well, actually, you can do all grain brewing.
Did you read the Pazian book?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Charlie, kind of wrote the book on it.
Yeah.
Literally, yeah.
Him, John Palmer, all that stuff.
Oh, God, yeah.
Even the books by Jamil back in the day, those were great too. There's tons of great stuff out there. But I guess when I found out about all grain brewing and tried my first batch, then it was like completely flipped.
It's a whole other experience.
How can I do this like every weekend? How can I keep making more stuff? It got to a point where I had just like a regular brewer, I guess. I'd maxed out what I could do at my house, so I started getting any friend that I could into home brewing.
Yeah.
So that I could make beer at their place with them and be like, oh yeah, I want you to learn about beer, but actually I just want to kind of know more for myself about like what I can do with these different ingredients.
That's awesome.
And then I got into homebrew clubs, and that was kind of like off to the races.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. That's cool. So, and did you start originally at Modern Times?
Yep, Modern Times was my first and only brewing gig. I was there for 9 years before opening this place. But I, luckily, growing up in beer in San Diego, there are tons of breweries just like there are in Portland and Chicago and other like brewing, like major brewing cities. So I was able to, through home brewing, get to meet professionals and do like shadow days, and there was a lot of opportunity where people would have like, oh yeah, give us $15 and like 10 or 12 of you can come hang out for like a full brew day and like walk you through the whole thing. And that stuff was great, and I did that all over the place. Mother Earth, Pizza Port, Coronado Brewing.
All great.
Those are all great.
All kinds of great spots in San Diego, and it was super fun. And I applied at a bunch of places, but 15 years ago, San Diego was extremely expensive, and like a lot of people, I had a decent paying gig, so going to brewing for, at the time, $10 an hour was just not realistic.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, something about Modern Times when they were first opening up, I kind of got sold on it, and I did it. I went and started for $10 an hour.
That's
and
awesome.
It was part-time, and I quit my other job that I had and figured out a way to work part-time doing that, and then part-time brewing, and just worked my way up from working on the canning line to
That's fantastic.
That's such a great story. And obviously, for those of us who have been around the beer scene and known the kind of grandeur that was created through modern times and multiple locations, some multiple locations in San Diego. I mean, it was like, how do you not just keep kind of like Breakside here? It's like, how do you not build another damn location? The beer is just flowing, and there were so many great beers from them, which makes it kind of sad in such a different way because of some of the beers they made. But to say, oh I was at Modern Times. People go, what? How did you get to Portland? But you kind of just explained.
Modern Times brought you here.
Yeah. How was that move for you?
So the move was pretty great. I had visited Portland a few times with my wife, and we fell in love with it. This had to be like 2015, 2016 when we first started visiting.
Wow.
And we wanted to find a new place where we thought we had opportunity in beer and advancing careers and all that kind of thing. And at kind of same thing that happened with us opening up Living Haus, it was very last minute. I went into a meeting one day with my team at Modern Times, and they were like, oh, this is a really hush-hush meeting. We're doing this new thing. And I was like, oh, great, another tasting room, and this is going to be another spot.
Yeah,
sell beer. Great.
In Palo Alto. Yeah, can't wait. Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, we are actually going to take over the common spot in Portland. We talked to Mike, and he approached us with this deal, and this is what's going to happen. And I kind of took all the information in through the meeting, and then when the meeting ended, everybody had kind of left the office that I'd shared with the rest of the production management team down in San Diego. And my boss, Tim Camels, I chatted with him for a couple minutes, and I was like, hey, if anyone think this maybe feels right, I would be interested in going up there and kind of overseeing the brewing at that facility, and I guess run it by somebody and see if that's going to work, or if we need to hire somebody that's local. And
that's an enormous
how are we going to do that?
Yeah.
And the next day, kind of same thing. We had some other meeting, and everybody left, and we were just there by ourselves. And he was like, "Oh, I talked to the owner, and that's all good. So pack your bags, I guess."
Do it. Yeah. Wow.
Shit.
Yeah.
How do you like it here in the Pacific Northwest?
I love the weather until this climate change just destroyed us over the last 2 or 3 years.
I know. What is going on right now?
No, it's great. I will be honest, one of the main things that I moved away from Southern California was the heat, and now it's just the same.
Yeah.
During the summer, what the hell has happened?
It is a little different. See, I've grown, I'm the only real native person here sitting at the table because I've grown.
He's calling shots.
I was born in Oregon, but only lived in Oregon for a couple of years before we bought a house. My parents bought a house in Vancouver, Washington, and that's where I have grown up my entire life. And so to have the weather be like it is, I'm like, yeah, it was never like this. I remember being a young kid and being a teenager and going out and it never being above 90. I mean, it was always mild, and it was never so hot that plants were dying instantaneously from exposure to the sun. It's especially in the last couple of years, and when we had 115, we would get 100-degree day, but it was one, and then it would go back down, and we'd have a thunderstorm like we did today here in Portland, which was just fun. I love thunderstorms, especially in the summer. But
they're always fun.
But yeah, I'm so used to the rain; it doesn't bother me. It doesn't make me sad.
No.
This is why I live here, is because the greenery.
So this is genuinely why me and my wife moved here, was for the greenery and the rain and the cooler climate.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, in the last 3 years, it has just gotten out of control.
4 months of summer. Yeah.
Yeah. Something that we saw 2 days ago, because this heat wave started here in the middle of May. For the third year in a row, whatever's just bloomed in our front yard, it's all dead now.
Wow. Yeah. That happened to us too.
Well, this was a late, last year it rained all the way through June pretty much, but then we had all the way hot through September. but we had such a late bloom. Like, I have a bleeding heart that usually, like, we looked at the calendar from a year ago, day to day, present, and it was double the size. And because of, like, that weird flash snow we had, it pushed everything back. But then we had, like, a few weeks of really hard rain, and then we got 90 degrees, and we're like, wait, hold on. We're not in summer yet. It's still May.
No, like, where is spring? And
Spring.
it's the same thing that we now see these last couple of years. It's like, where's fall? How did it not just go from summer, like, again, 90-plus degrees every day, to...
We get one day of the leaves
snow.
changing colors, We get one day of the leaves changing colors, and then they're gone.
See, and that's really frustrating to me because that's, again, one of
the best part.
Reasons that I moved up here. My favorite, like, 2-week period of the year is whatever it is now, October, November, when it goes from...
Autumn.
But now that's only 2 weeks. Remember when that used to be 3 months?
You
That
and
was
I are
nice.
autumn people.
Yeah.
Autumn.
Oh, I love. Well, my birthday. Yeah, birthday's in October, so if the autumnal season is like.
We love it.
It is. You get a fire. You get a cozy, like, hot toddy.
Oh,
you get
sweater weather.
That's Vienna lager weather.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite.
That's my boy.
Yeah.
You sit out.
That's a pro spell.
You know, like, everybody talks about, oh, you got to get out on somebody's patio for the summer, having beers. Like, let's say Wayfinder, because they have the best patio.
Oh, that's true, they do.
But that's summer. What I like is sitting out in front of Apex or sitting out in front of beer mongers.
Yeah.
It's like maybe 63, 64 degrees. The sun's starting
There's
to
a
set at like
slight breeze.
5:36.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you're just having a little, like, kind of amber lager. That's the best. That's the best. That can't be beat for me.
No.
Matt, you're talking my language, baby.
Well, I mean, and it sounds like if you ever leave, you're gonna have to find something pretty damn close to this. So hopefully you never leave. But it's all about where the beer takes you.
Well, back to my buddies in Gothenburg, Sweden, someday.
There you go.
Sweden's so nice.
Let's talk about. We talked about in the beginning of the show the name, and you kind of gave us a little bit of an origin about what was going on.
Yeah.
And maybe it was because you were trying to keep the beer house alive. But what is the name for Living Haus, and what's with the Haus, man?
Sure.
Haus.
So, Living Haus. We did talk about it for a second, and then I went on this tangent, which happens a lot with me.
Totally okay. Welcome to the club.
Yep.
But Living Haus, I think what we really are trying to represent is people evolving and what's happening in the now, and not looking at the past. And something interesting about that, or I guess that kind of ties the thing together for us, is when we are specifically looking at beer, it's a living thing. Yeast is what makes our beer, and that little organism is a little living thing that changes or can change,
manipulate,
like
and move.
whatever we add to it, and that's really interesting to us and exciting to us. And beyond that, I guess for like the feel of our brand or whatever, not only were we talking about yeast and beer, but what else is living? Well, we're both big plant lovers.
Yeah.
Both of our partners are massively into plants and taking care of them and growing them, and being able to tie those two things together is like really interesting to us. And I guess kind of what it boils down to for me personally is, I want to see things moving forward all the time. Like, I'm not interested in sitting around thinking about, like, oh, remember like 2 years ago when we were doing this cool thing, or remember when we were kids and this was happening? Like, that's great to reminisce, but I really want to be living in the present, and I want to be looking at what the next thing is.
So a departure from nostalgia.
Yeah, nostalgia.
It's great.
It's great, but it can...
Don't sit too long in it.
For me, it can get boring or stifling, honestly.
It can.
When you're thinking about, like, what you want to do next. Like, revisiting something from 15, 20 years ago. Like, I mean, who still listens to ska? Like, why would you continue to do that?
So here's the nice thing about what you're talking about is
shots fired.
It's very it's a very big proponent of, of beer.
What, ska?
No, the living in the present and because it is fleeting. And here's the thing, Matt can and anyone listening can attest to this. When beer is being made, there is a time for it to ferment. There is a time for it to stop fermenting. There's a time for it to do all these things.
Yeah.
And it's current.
Living
And if
enzymes.
Right. And if you don't move, then it dies and you start all over.
Yes.
And you don't want to start all over because that's going to be a delicious beer that like we're drinking now, the Grodziskie. It's a delicious beer. It takes time moving forward to get this beer to taste like it is. And if you stop and you think too long about the beer that you did make, you're not going to make that next great beer. And it makes sense.
Yeah.
It absolutely makes sense.
Moving forward.
We're living in the now. We're living for beer. And just come along with us.
We're living in this house.
Let's talk about this Grodziskie real quick, though, because the smokiness is great. And it's like...
Pretty spot on.
I took that first sip and I was like, this tastes like smoked brisket. I mean, like... Not necessarily like meat, but the flavoring, the smokiness is great. What are we using? What is that?
Yeah, we've talked about
What is
Grodziskie on the
happening
show,
here?
but for the sake of the newer
Is
listeners,
this applewood? What's the smoke? Where are you getting it from?
tell us a little bit about this beer style. How do you evoke such flavors?
So I'm actually pulling up the recipe right now.
Oh, wow.
Something that you guys should know about me, listeners should know, other brewers. I'm one of the most, I try to be one of the most open brewers. I don't keep any secrets about what I'm doing. I don't care. Like, if you want to make it better, go for it.
Please, very indicative of the brewing culture.
Well, please do. Give it a shot. Yeah.
You fit in well.
Our beer, Bartleby, which is named after a dear friend that we lost about a year and a half ago now. He was a good friend, and he ran the coffee program in Modern Times for quite a long time. I lost him way too young. Good bud. He was from the Midwest. He was from Chicago. He loved beers out of the Midwest. He very rarely talked to me about beer, but when he did, one of the only beers that I could find when we talked about making a beer in his memory was this little Grodziskie. So his family is Polish. He always kind of seeked out like weird, different tasting beers, and to fall in love with a style that is extremely low ABV, has for most
Isn't it like 3.2?
3.2.
That's not common.
No, it's a little baby beer, which is great because you can have a million of them.
It's a great sessionable style, and I love it. It's got a lot of flavor, a lot of development.
Yeah, so it's
got class.
We teamed up with one of my favorite breweries out of the Midwest, Fair State Brewing, with my buddy Nico Tonks. Used to be the head brewer there. I think he's gone on to, I think he's doing sales for YCH Hops now. But Nico is one of the most creative and innovative brewers in all styles. But he was one of the people when, as a professional brewer, when I met him, we just like really clicked on lager beer and like weird, unique lager styles, or whatever this hybrid style of Grodziskie may be. But anyways, this beer, the base is from 100% oak smoked wheat malt. We've gone back and forth over the years from the different variations of this style that we've made, of using stuff from Weyermann, which is a great malt house out of Bamberg, Germany.
Yeah.
They make a really great oak smoked wheat malt.
Wow.
But there's a Polish maltster that I'm forgetting the name right now, but they have also been doing great oak smoked wheat for quite a long time, and Live Oak uses them exclusively for their malt. And I'm super jealous of them because I want to use that malt someday. So hopefully we can work something out. But this beer was made with Weyermann oak smoked wheat, and then something that we did that was a little tricky on this beer to like maybe get a little bit of interesting fruit character is we used U.S. grown Tettnang hops, which are a traditionally German grown noble hop.
Yeah.
But it's grown by Gail Goshi down...
Goshi Farms, yeah.
Yeah, Goshi Farms. And then we use a little bit of Crystal hop, which is
Classic.
also a classic U.S. noble hop. One of Van Havig's favorites from Gigantic.
Yeah.
I got
He does
glued into
love
Crystal
that.
hop years back, and didn't know why I liked it, and then I started talking to Van. I was like, oh, I find this in a lot of your beers, and
Yeah.
I dig that.
We call that one of the lost C's because it's not as used as often anymore.
Yeah.
There's the major C's and then there's the minor C, which is there's Crystal is definitely on there.
Yeah, when I first started this show back in 2009, everybody was using Crystal hops. It was in high demand, and hop farms were having a hard time keeping it in supply.
Yeah.
In 2009, I'm pretty sure Fuggle was a hot hop too.
Oh yeah, Fuggles. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Fuggle. That was a new one because
That
it's
was
so much fun to say.
Well, yeah, but now everyone is it's the major three, which is Citra, Chinook, and Centennial.
Yeah, everybody loves the
They're
Centennial.
all fantastic.
Which are great, but
Chinook is the best one in those three.
I
Yeah.
agree.
opinion.
Yeah, I will
Well,
agree.
There you go.
But yeah, Crystal's great, and what a fun characteristic to add to this beer as
Reliable.
well. Yeah,
And I don't know. I mean, you can only, in my opinion, you can only make a traditional beer so many times or so many ways, or have so many great breweries in town keep trying to make the same traditional beer. I guess maybe that's where some of the experimentation and trying new things, both for me and Conrad in our previous gigs, where that kind of stuff comes into play in the way that we make our beers. Is it fun to try to make like the most stylistically appropriate beer? Of course, like you want to try and nail those things, but you also want to have some kind of flair that makes it different.
Right.
And I think, hop choices, whether it be in something of IPA territory or a lager, like you can get experimental and you can make things that maybe appeal to more than some core group that just wants things to be the same all the time.
Yeah.
I do have I only have 2 questions before we go to break, so I don't
Sure.
know how many you have left. But I wanted to ask you, since being open, you're almost to a year, so congratulations on that. We probably won't see you by the time you hit that year, but congratulations ahead of time because that's awesome. But what so far has been one of your favorite beers? And then there's a second question on that after the fact.
It's tough. We've been so much more focused on the, I guess, few amount of beers that we produce now compared to what we used to do, that they all really, truly matter to us. But from a personal standpoint, which these beers are personal to me, Dolores the Pilsner it's a very important beer to me. It's something that I put together for my grandmother, and it means a lot. Pilsner beer is something that means a lot to me. It's a style that I've chased for a real long time and want to make really, really well, and want to, again, make something different and unique than what everybody else is making in town.
Was that your dragon beer?
I guess so, yeah.
Chasing the dragon. You
And
gotta
then
defeat that.
I don't know. There is a second follow-up, and it's probably Bartleby.
Okay.
We do put a lot of our personal spin on these beers, and beer is supposed to be fun and lighthearted, and well, I don't know, maybe it's not, but for me, these things are really personal. So those two, just from a personal standpoint, like those mean a lot.
Seems like you got a lot of heart in your beer.
Well, and it sounds like your beers are in themselves living.
Yeah.
I mean, they are a remembrance of not necessarily just a person, but a experience of life that adds to making and wanting there to be a well-made beer. Because, first of all, you want people to drink it, you want it to sell, but you want to say, hey, thank you for your impact on my life, and here's the beer that says that in whatever way you want to say that.
Yeah, and I think for me, what I've come to realize over the last year or so of doing this brand and making these beers and putting these connections together, like I've realized it truly is, I guess, the way that I express myself.
Yeah.
I don't I don't regularly know how to connect with people consistently, or I don't know, hold relationships together. But
I have a hard time with that too. That's why I do this.
But the the way that I can tell people that I care about them, or that I I feel like I have some connection with them is through beer. I don't know. I guess it's like a little therapeutic thing for me just to make these beers.
And you know
That's
what?
fantastic.
It makes perfect sense, and definitely a pro spell to you for just being, just awesome in that respect, because it's not. And unfortunately, there are a lot of breweries and brewers out there who are very empty with. They're like, yeah, I'm just making a great hazy IPA because I want to. And you're putting so much more thought and so much more energy and so much more parts of yourself as far as your heart into it, which makes it, I think, even a better beer. Like that hazy was, like I said, it's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal hazy IPA.
Yeah.
The Grodziske's phenomenal.
Yeah. Very well done. I've had a lot of Grodziskees because it's not a well-known style, and I usually nose out the new things that show up on the map. And then they'll pop up. That style has popped up over the last 3 years, that Polish style, and it's not a well-known style. So I was very surprised to see this from you and to have it so effectively done. So good. Very, very great job on this beer.
Thanks. Well, as Conrad alluded to, we've been making this style. I'm going to get killed if somebody, by somebody if I don't say it the right way, but Grodziskie is actually how it's pronounced.
Okay.
And if I don't know, we've made I want to say probably 5 different recipes of Grodziskie over the years, and when we first started doing it, nobody knew what the hell we were doing, especially coming from the brewery that we were at when we started making them.
Yeah.
Are
these guys just making up words?
These
what is this?
motherfuckers? What the hell?
Hell?
But there are a ton of great brewers in town that have attempted the style and done well with the style.
Yeah, it's a great style.
So super happy to see that Conrad and I's trend-setting ways have helped lead the way to Grodziskie.
That's great.
Which nobody buys.
And real quick, you guys had another fella on your team when you guys started out, Gavin Lord. Is he still with you guys, or did he move on to Hetty Alice?
No, so there's a super convoluted story to how this all works. But basically, Gavin Lord is a partner with us in Living Haus when we first opened up, or when we were attempting to open up and figure out how to get this brewery off the ground. Conrad and I came up with the Living Haus concept and what this brand was going to be. One of the people coming through the facility when it was still Modern Times and we were in charge of figuring out like how to either get the lease taken over by somebody else or how to sell the equipment to somebody else. Gavin was one of the interested parties that came through.
Okay.
And he truly actually knew what he was doing compared to a lot of people that we saw come through as either startups or people from tenured breweries that didn't really see what the space was capable of.
Yeah, Gavin came from Freem Family Brewers.
Yeah, small brewery. Never heard of them, right?
Just a little known brewery
made a
that
couple
happens to
cool
do
beers.
really great beer. Hood River.
Hood River,
What
where?
the hell is that?
Oh, come on,
Hood
guys.
River.
Yeah, so Gavin came through, as an interested party in the space, and we spent the most time with him kind of talking through the pros and cons of the building and the equipment and what could be done, and it just kind of instantly clicked that, like, he got it, and I want to say maybe the next day, I sent him a text and was like, hey, I just want to be straight up with you. Conrad and I are thinking about taking on this project, but maybe there's room for some kind of partnership here, so let's see what that's all about.
Great.
There is a write-up by Jeff Altworth on his Beervana blog website that I think is the most detailed layout of our partnership, but for anybody that's unaware or wants more detail, myself, Conrad, and Gavin are in a partnership for Sin Market Beverages, which is like the parent LLCC for...
I was going to ask you about that.
It's a parent LLCC for Living Haus. So Living Haus is the brewery brand out of this facility.
All right, I gotcha.
Gavin has a partnership in that's like a smaller, I guess, portion, but he
Shareholder.
he's a smaller shareholder. Living Haus is basically me and Conrad. We make all the recipes, we design the beers. Conrad goes out and sells the beers. I run production at this point in time.
Right.
Okay.
Gavin, he fills in our third leg of this brewery where we offer contract brewing services
Gotcha.
to people, and he is the director of contract brewing. So he works with all of our clients
That's awesome.
to bring in new clients, keep our current clients happy, and make sure that everything's going well there.
Right.
In turn, Gavin has an AP with us where he brews his brand, Hetty Owls. So there is a small separation.
So he's contract brewing himself as well out of here.
He has an AP, so he gets.
Away. Yeah.
Long story short, he gets like a different rate, and
Of course.
but he is a partner in San Marcos, so he has a financial stake in
Right.
our entire company.
And if you don't mind, for the newer listeners that are not as familiar with the concept of gypsy brewing and contract brewing, would you clarify just how something like that works? How that
Sure,
those
sure.
kinds of arrangements?
So contract brewing, which is what we offer services for, is where a multitude of different types of clients. You could be a gypsy brewer, or you could be a
Like
brewery that's been
established
around
brand.
for like 20 years, and maybe you need a little excess capacity, or
Don't
you
have
wa-
enough
you
space
wanna-
on your own deck?
Yeah, or you want to try a new brand out, but maybe your brew house is 200 barrels or something, and you want to make 20 or 30.
Yeah.
We can help you out with a small batch of something, or any contract brewing company can help one of those types of clients out.
Yeah, a lot
but
of breweries, they plan everything out for like a quarter, 2 quarters, or sometimes even an entire year.
Yeah.
And if a new project comes up, they don't have the capacity to set time and space and tanks and facilities aside to do that.
Exactly.
So
and
this is where you come in.
Yeah, the experience that I have and the experience that Gavin has, and Conrad as well, we worked for larger breweries that did yearly plus planning, and for us to have the capacity that we have at our facility and the equipment that we have at our facility, as maybe tenured brewers, we're still startups, both Living Haus and Hetty Alice. This facility has the capacity to do 5,000-6,000 barrels a year.
Huge amount of room here.
Yeah.
Tall ceilings, big tanks.
Yeah.
How many tanks are you guys working with back here?
So we have 12 fermenters. We have 3 60-barrel fermenters, 5 30s, and 3 20s.
That is impressive.
When we first started up here about a year ago, we brought in the 3 20-barrel tanks because, as I was alluding to, is a couple of new brands with whatever tenure we have or experience we have, we still have to build these brands, so we can't just right away be like, oh yeah, let's fill all these 60s with something that we're just going to sell through the tasting room. So we wanted to actually go smaller so that we could make fun one-offs for ourselves and our fans and our customers, and
That's fantastic.
and then all the big tanks we fill with other people's beer so we can keep the lights on.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. So you guys have a huge amount of capacity. How much of this gear did you guys inherit from Modern Times?
So we purchased, I want to say 90% of it. We brought in
It's a
3.
great deal.
Yeah, it worked out really well for us. We brought in 3 20-barrel tanks and a second bright tank, which we've never had here, which has been really nice and helps out with packaging days. We are currently renting a canning line that we have in-house
Nice.
at all times. So
So
that
you can
we
do it all
package.
here under one roof.
Yep, we can do everything.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty
What
great.
can't you do, Matt?
Yeah.
Kick flips anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're all
there it
Same here, man.
Yeah, when
I
was
used
the
to be
last
able-
time you attempted a kick flip?
Dude, I used to be able
like
to
a
jump.
decade
I used to
ago.
be able to jump more than 3 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the last time I was able to do that either.
You want to know my favorite activity outside of brewing? It's floating the river, which means you just sit there for 2 hours.
Yeah, that
That's
is a
the
great
best.
activity. I love to float the river. We're
Good
gonna
stuff.
float the river with Matt here after this next break. And we're gonna talk a little bit about thrash metal. I don't know if that's on the
It's not.
playlist.
You should have.
No?
No, I should have updated the playlist mid-conversation, throwing some ska in there now. But we're not going to do any thrash metal. We're going to keep
or
it.
ska.
We're going to keep it real. When we come back, we're going to drink more beer. We're going to talk about the news. And
we do have some brew news.
We do have a little bit of brew news, but we do have some beers we're going to try. We're excited about those. We'll talk about those in just a minute. You are listening to Matt here at Living Haus, and this is the Brew Happy Show. We'll be right back.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
This is Casey Helwig with Imperial Yeast, and you're listening to the Brew Happy Show.
I'm John Paul from Paul Cigars. Everyone knows I think craft beer is awesome, but so is my huge selection of cigars. You can get all your favorite tobacco products at any one of my conveniently placed locations in Beaverton, East Vancouver, and my headquarters store on Jansen Beach. Our wide selection and helpful staff will make your visit so very satisfying. You might even want to have a beer to celebrate. So come on in and check us out. For more information, contact us at paulcigars.net.
It's not about the beer. It's about the beer. You can't get so crazy about beer that it becomes obsessive. The second part is about the beer. It means it's about the beer culture. It's about the camaraderie that comes with the first beer. It's not about the beer you're drinking. It's about how you drink it, where you drink it. It's a cultural thing. It can't be a singular event. I mean, they have a word for singular events, and they're not fun.
This is Alan Sprentz from Hair of the Dog Brewing Company, and you're listening to the Brew Happy Show.
John, I need more beer.
Oh my God!
Yeah, baby! Whiskey sour on the rocks, dirty martini and a round of shots. Great minds drink alike. Great minds drink alike. Me and my baby, Saturday night. Ain't got money, ain't got no plan. Solve problems with a 12-ounce can. Great minds drink alike. Great minds drink alike. Me and my baby.
Yes. Oh, we're having a lot of fun here at Living Haus Beer. If you guys haven't been down here, right off Belmont in Portland, Oregon, please come down, hang out, have some beer. It's fun. We are enjoying ourselves immensely. And it's hard to not support local great craft beer, especially here in Portland, Oregon, which we love it here, and it's great. Living Haus Beer is fantastic. Matt's fantastic. He's off taking a little bit of a break, but he'll be back.
Fantastic location too.
Yeah,
the plants,
such history and such fun.
Lots of plants around. Bronwyn and I have been in and out of here over the last few months, and I'll tell you what, we love the plants.
The plants,
huge Monstera over there by the beer cooler, where you can get some take-home beer.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. So, the story with Living Haus is unfolding. We are really enjoying learning more about the background of Living Haus. Conrad got to join us for a little
Andrus,
bit here.
Man.
Yeah, the Andrus man. So,
It's
you know,
fun.
we
He's fun.
you know, we used to live together, and he was the head brewer over at Culmination for years, and that kid was making like so many saisons,
Oh my
and then
God.
so many IPAs, and then so many hazy IPAs when those guys got really popular, and so super smart.
Yeah.
Really knows his stuff. Traveled around the world with Tomas from Culmination.
Yeah, and I
Learned
remember
a bunch
seeing
of
him.
stuff.
I remember when we went to GABF for my first time. We
Yeah.
were walking the streets, and then we just were like, "Hey, is that Conrad in front of us?"
Yeah, you
we're
can't
just
miss
in.
him.
We're just in the heart of Denver.
The guy is like 6'7".
He's friggin' tall. He's so tall. But he's also just one of the nicest guys in the brewing industry.
Yeah.
Because he's just not only just a little soft spoken, but he's just humble, and he just eats that pie real nicely every day. He's one of my favorites.
I think that's one of the cool things about Living Haus Beer is it's all about the beer and the people.
Speaking of the beer, Matt
Quality
is
reflects
Matt,
that.
Yeah, Matt is back. Hi, Matt.
Matt is back.
Hello.
Matt is back. We're gonna have some beer. I opened up a beer. We're gonna have some beer. If you, Matt, would be so kind as to grab the glasses in front of you.
Oh yeah.
And pass one down to Damian, and one is for yourself. This is a delicious beer that.
This tastes like a fest beer.
This is the Hyperfest McPolanders Tap Room and Brew Happy Show collaboration beer.
Is this the beer we made?
That's the beer we made.
Hey, finally! Yay!
That is we're calling it a pseudo imperial because it's actually 7.5%. Which is a little higher than a fest beer.
Jesus.
Yeah, the
we went a little heavy.
Steep on the grain build that time.
We have some flaked oats in there. There's a couple other.
I love flaked oats.
And then we just kept it really simple with Pils malt and just kind of had a lot of fun. But let it lager out really nicely, and we got a great color out of it. And obviously, we actually our intentional gravity was 7.8, and we got to 7.5, and so it was like, oh, wow, that's totally fine. But it is a fantastic beer. John does not like that beer, but John has no idea what the fuck he's talking about.
I like that beer. What do you think, Matt? Did we do all right?
Dude, the aroma is killer on this thing.
Yeah.
It is. It's a great bouquet. Good nose.
There's
look
no
at all
can
the
art.
details on this thing.
Yeah,
this is great. I'm staring at just a plain
blank
silver
aluminum
12-ounce
can, yeah.
which is great.
But we kegged it, so we brewed it in January.
Mm-hmm.
It finally got kegged towards the beginning of March, just out of because Jeremy and Jen, who are big into the She Brew event, didn't have time. So it sat there and lagered, and then they finally kegged it up towards the beginning of March, and then we canned some up just about 2 weeks ago. And a surprise for you, when we go to the McPolanders tap room after they get back from Tahiti, fucking assholes, we're not only going to have you have your own 4-pack, but we have more beer more Hyperfest to give out and drink, as well as a flurry of extra OBA beers that we're going to be taking home with us.
Oh, okay. I can put a keg in the new kegerator that we have at the JPR studios.
Sure. We'll see if that's going to. But there's more fest beer, Hyperfest to drink, so that'll be coming down the list. But what do you think?
This is great. I really like it. I wish it was a cooler day for this.
I know. Yeah.
But I think it's well done. A little on the raisiny side. Like the ABV is definitely a little on the
it's higher,
high side, not indicative of a fest beer.
It is a little sweeter than I thought, but one of the other things we had talked about was after the fermentation process was done, we were talking about spicing it. And both after the initial taste between Jeremy and Jen and myself, we tried it and we're like, nope. Don't spice it. Leave it as it is.
Oh yeah, I remember talking about that.
And we're so glad
we didn't do that.
So glad we didn't spice it.
Matt, what do you think?
So you're telling me this is just Pilsner and flaked oat?
No.
There's what else is in the mall, Bill?
There's one other, and I can't remember it.
Caramel?
No. No.
Hold on, I might have notes on this.
Because as was alluded to by Damian, this is one of the like aromatically and flavor-wise one of the heaviest like dark fruit character beers I've had in a long time. From just being a simple, whatever lager beer this is crazy. And when I was talking about a while back the 2 weeks of fall that you get now, and sitting out when the sun's going down at like 5:30, but it's still like just a touch warm.
Yeah.
Like, this is a great beer for that.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I actually, that definitely paints a picture.
Yeah, or maybe like you mentioned, just like a little fireside beer.
Yeah, and there's another grain in there, and then they have the oats, and then I cannot remember what hops we put in there, but it's definitely a little bit spicier of a hop, and it just leads out perfectly. The other one that we brewed that day was their Russian Imperial Stout called the Empress, which we ended up during the boil putting in molasses and brown sugar. And we ended up having that just recently when we were over at their little tasting tap house in their garage, and it's, oh my God, absolutely perfect. It's so phenomenally good and so super sweet, but just delicious. But
this reminds me of a combo of like raisin bran and grape nuts, like in all the right ways.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and it's just a fun beer, and the people who understand the style and get to try this, it's not, like I said, it's not necessarily the style because it's a little bit different and it's a little heavier and it's a little bit sweeter, but it still has wonderful characteristics. I'm very proud of it, and I'm glad that we got to make that. And we're actually going to make a couple more beers with them. I think Jeremy and I had talked, and I think, unfortunately, you're going to have to wait for you.
Aww.
We're going to get to September. And I think we're going to do a Czechsifico.
Okay. I was thinking of doing like a blonde or maybe a pale.
Jeremy has some thoughts once you hear them that he wants to do with the Czechsifico, and it involves, and I won't allude to too much more, it involves some tapache.
Oh, damn.
So that's all I'll say about that.
Getting all Reverend Nat on me, huh?
That's all I'll say about that.
All right. Well, this is what I brought with me.
What is that?
This is an oldie but a goodie, and this I acquired, and here it's open, so now we got to drink it. So I got this bottle here in this building on the last day that the Commons was open. This may be one of the last Flemish Kisses available, and I'm opening it with you here today, Matt, because I want you, and I'm glad Conrad's still here, to try a little bit of this. I'm sure you guys got some of this lying around.
You want to know a little secret? People drop off Commons bottles all the time.
Really?
But not one Flemish Kiss.
Whoa! There it is.
So this was gifted to me by Travis.
Oh, Travis Sandoval. Great name.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I was making sure you handed me that and not my beer. So.
I knew Travis from, coming in and doing tours with Bruvana. And the Commons was one of the stops. So
yeah, we were ported on it when they did close down, and we were, as Portlanders and Pacific Northwesterners, we were very sad that the Commons Brewery said goodbye to us, and we felt way too soon.
Ooh.
But we have this indelible mark on their history here, and this is, Conrad, I'm sure you are very well with the Flemish from the Commons. This is, as far as we know, the last bottle of Flemish Kiss.
I'm sure there's others.
Probably. Yeah. How do you feel about this beer? Did it age well? Let's try it.
You don't think we have this one? When we opened, a bunch of people brought us Commons bottles, so
Nobody brought us Modern Times bottles.
Weird.
Kind of weird. Actually,
funny about that.
Actually, there was one Modern Times bottle. Well, it's funny because I was like, I made this beer. We made this beer. We don't really need to taste it again.
Yeah, right.
I was like, trust me, I don't need you to give me a bottle of our own beer.
So Flemish Kiss, Matt, what do you think? How's this? Did it hold up? How's it? Conrad's gonna taste it now.
The nose is very familiar, which is nice.
Accurate.
It hasn't gone vinegary, so that's nice.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised about that.
You conditioned it well, sir.
I had it in a locked closet in the dark for a
long time
since the day that the Commons closed.
I mean, I think the aroma is really nice on it. I think that the body, if you have these bottles, I'd probably be drinking it now because
it's not gonna last much longer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely getting long.
Yeah.
But it still smells like an awesome experience. So.
Yeah.
There should be another glass.
Tastes good too.
I purposely got an extra glass so that you could have some of the fest beer that we brewed. It's in the can. There should be. Oh no, where's the other glass at? I brought 6.
I filled 4 down here.
Oh, because we all had them. So anyway, he can drink out of the can.
There you go.
So that's a beer we brewed with Jen and Jeremy over at the McPolanders Tap Room.
That's our fest beer.
That's our fest beer. We made a fest beer.
Try it.
Late.
I know.
It was a little late. We did it in January.
Late. Yeah, super late.
We did it in January. It's definitely late.
Yeah.
Could you call that earlier or would you call that late?
Oh, we did it definitely late.
Yeah, both. Yeah.
That's okay. We released a. What was the?
Hefeweizen?
Yeah, we released a Hefeweizen in December because we're smart.
January, bud.
Someone's going to drink it. Yeah.
Somebody will drink that.
It doesn't sell in January or December, so it doesn't matter.
Aw.
It was really good, though.
Well, there you go. This actually is not a bad Flemish. I'm not. I think it's probably would have been better, fresher, but it's still really great.
You guys want to know a?
Conrad, what'd you say about my beer?
Uh-oh. Tastes like a lot of Karamunic.
I think that's probably what it is.
Ah, that's
it.
it.
Is, grape nuts and raisin bran in all the best ways.
Yeah.
Maybe some
combo.
Carapils in there somewhere.
Yeah, there's definitely but I think it's just a and then we have the oats in there as well that really added a lot of the body to it. So
oats are a secret weapon.
I love oats. I love flaked oats. That's what you get, that head retention.
We did almost. We had come up with. I think Jen has a running list of the names that her and I started throwing out together to try and make a list. And I think number 14 or 15 is Ben Edmonds doesn't like oats fest beer. And we decided not to do that. But then obviously it was really funny to all of us who know Ben and know how he doesn't like them.
Ben doesn't like flaked oats.
Yeah, he does not.
I can't confirm that he doesn't like malted oats.
I don't think he likes oats. I don't think he likes oatmeal.
Okay, so we finally found the one thing wrong with Ben Edmonds.
We found his weakness. If he was Superman instead of kryptonite, we'd be throwing oats at him.
Oh shit.
We love this show.
Do.
You want to go over our adventures of late?
I don't know.
I had a really great time this week.
As long as it's quick, because we're running out of time. I'm not even going to do the news.
No.
Here's what I will say is because we ran out of time, we actually had just a fantastic. This is the second week in a row.
Yeah.
It's just been. This has
really
been great
all around. Thank you so much for your time,
Matt. You're full of it and in all the best ways. And I mean, I
am full of it.
But
and
of the beer. But it's we appreciate you being as candid and as frank as you were, which is the name of one of your beers, and it just makes us appreciate the beers even more. So thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So I don't have to do the news, and I don't need to do extra nonsense.
I was just going to talk about our time at Beer Mongers because
you did have a fun week, didn't you?
Yeah, it was a great week. Thanks,
Thank
Conrad.
You, Conrad.
We had a fun week, and we hung out at Beer Mongers. They stayed open all last week, despite a clerical error holding up their old license.
I like the clerical error part.
I don't know what's going on with that. It doesn't matter. But they opened their doors to local small businesses like Green Goddess Botanic and our friend Niche. And plus, it was a great opportunity to celebrate our teetotaler friends out there in the industry. And then also out at Level Beer this week, it was a blustery weekend, but we got some Mother's Day bouquets out there.
Beautiful.
With the Green Goddess Botanic.
Beautiful.
And
we had the new orange cream ale on nitro made by bartender Amber out at level 1.
There you go.
So one of the bartenders, very talented lady, got to get on the brew deck. And so we're going to have to talk about that next week with Jason Barbie.
I'm excited.
Who I bumped into today while I was out there working on the irrigation system. So we are going to be out next week at level 2 location, which is in Multnomah Village, just on the backside of John's Marketplace, if you're familiar with that. This is apparently the neighborhood where Jason Barbie lives. So
it's
that's
easy for him.
That's why it's easy for him, and we'll make it easy for us.
Are we doing a show on Memorial Day? I currently do not have plans to go out of town.
Okay, really?
Currently.
All right.
But I'm fairly certain, and if I'm not wrong...
It's going to be tough to come up with a guest.
I already have the guest.
Oh.
Returning from Tahiti.
Ooh, okay. You want to do McPollanders?
I will talk to them.
I'd be down with it.
The only other thing that I can think about potentially doing would be something else I won't say on the show, but that's probably the only place that might be actually available to us.
Okay.
Because a lot of people like close and go out of town for.
Yeah. Well, check out the Instagram and the Facebook pages and the Twitter for updates on that.
Oh wait, what was the brewery you said?
We are going to see you next week at Level Beer's second location, level 2.
What did you text us today though?
That is a great question. Let's go.
You texted me a brewery off of Sandy.
Oh, there is a new brewery. That's right. There is a new brewery to learn about. This is
Duality.
Duality Brewing, and they are a new place on Sandy and 26th. They're only open on the weekends right now, but we're going to be visiting with them soon.
I'm excited.
To find out more about them as well. So you heard it here first on the Brew Happy Show.
And, of course, in the coming month of June, we're going to be revisiting our friends at Fracture. We're going to be stepping into Grand Fir with Whitney Burnside. And you know what? We might just have to check out some of the other cool spots that serve delicious beers like, I don't know, Little Beast Brewing.
Little Beast Brewing.
And then, of
Threshold.
course, we're talking about Threshold
yeah.
and Montevilla. Just might do a back-to-back show with them.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Yeah. But
you'll have to just listen, I guess.
Yeah, just keep listening. As always, we do appreciate you listeners and your support out there in the Brewniverse. Thank you to Living Haus here.
Thank you, Matt.
For hosting us. Thank you to Matt and Conrad for having us here and telling us all about this fantastic new brewery here in Portland, right downtown, off of Belmont.
You know it, you love it. Come in.
Right off the Morrison Bridge, guys. You can't miss it. Just come in and check it out. Some of the best beers you're going to bring home with you this year. As always, beer fans, I don't just like you, I love you, and I want to have a beer with you.
Yeah.
Until next week, keep brewing, but brew happy right here at Living Haus. Cheers.
This production is brought to you by Brew Happy Media, the ultimate brewers media resource. For more information, go to thebrewhappyshow.com and brewhappypodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at Brew Happy. For more cigar pairings, please check out our sponsor, paulcigars.net. Questions, concerns, advertising, or guest relations, please reach us at brewhappypdx@gmail.com. Remember, brew happy, drink responsibly. Cheers.
Oh my God.
Spoken.
You listen to the Brew Happy Show, so do I. Do it.
Jeremy. Brew Happy.
John, I need more beer.